high school soccer, sports in general? A lot of you, right? So when I used to come to Nimitz, and when I first moved up to Permit, it was pretty scary. I mean, you went from elementary to middle school, you know how scary it is. It's a big school. When I first went, everybody was older than me, more experienced than me. They'd already been there, and I was stepping into cold water. You know, I wasn't the tallest keeper, I wasn't the fastest keeper, I wasn't the fastest player, I wasn't even the biggest. I was little, I'm still little. But what got me to where I am is my work ethic. You know, even despite all of that, I'm a 4-year letterman who started varsity as a freshman, and in my sophomore year, I took Permian 3 rounds into the playoffs. You know, and it wasn't because of my height. It was because of how hard I worked. You know, my dad, him right there, he used to always tell me, never let anybody outwork you. And I never let them do that. I made sure I was always busting my butt. I wasn't the fastest, but I made sure I was pushing the hardest. You know, I wasn't the tallest, but I always made sure that I could jump high enough to make better saves than any goalie that was going against me. You know, I wasn't the biggest, but I made sure that my skills were unmatched. I trained hard. I trained so much to make sure that there was no doubt in that coach's mind that I was the better goalie and I deserved to be the starter. Because I eventually became a starter my sophomore year. You know, the freshman year it was growing pains, but after that I settled in, I got down to work, and I became a starter. You know, and you know, being in high school sports, it's not easy. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not saying it's impossible, but there is gonna be challenges. It's not gonna be a walk in the park. Being in high school sports and being in high school in general is a lot about working hard and overcoming adversity and overcoming the challenges that are thrown at you. I recently tore my ACL my junior year. I was in the peak of my performance and I tore my ACL. And usually for soccer players, this is devastating. Like, this is end of careers for some people, especially since I was going into my senior year. And everybody told me that my recovery was gonna take 9 to 10 months. And that was a lot of time. Because when you're a junior and you're going into your senior year, you don't have that much time to get scouted. I worked so hard that I got back in only 6 months. I just got released, and I already have, you know, all these opportunities that are showing up for me again. But this is because every day of every week of every month, I was pushing myself. I was training 1 to 2 to maybe even 3 times a day, trying to make sure my strength got back, make sure that my hands were still there, make sure that what I could train on, I was training. I didn't let myself become lazy. Because another thing that you have to worry about and that you need to work on is making sure that you're outworking everybody else. This is what these coaches are looking for. Can you work hard? Are you dedicated? And can you put the work in? What you put into this sport and what you put into high school is what you're going to get back out. If you put in 50%, you're going to get, you know, maybe JV, or you're going to ride the bench. You're not make the team at all. These coaches don't want mediocre. These coaches have seen club level players, and I'm not saying you have to play club, but what separates you is how hard you work, how much you're willing to put in.
I'm sorry, again, these were in your inboxes. If for any reason second period teachers do not find one, then please get with us in the office and we can make you a copy. But you should have one in your inbox.
You obviously love the sport you're playing, but you're only as good as your grades. Because if we're thinking into the future, high school is just a small step away from college. And if that is your dream to play college ball or even high school ball, you've got to find a balance. You have to remember that these sports are UIL, which means if you do not pass your classes, even if the coach wants to put you in, they cannot play you. So if they look at what you're doing in middle school and see that you can't pass your classes, or if you show in the beginning of the year that you're not passing your classes and you're struggling, they're not going to put you on a team because they can't trust you to be passing by the time game day comes. If y'all make playoffs and you're not passing, they can't use you no matter how good you are. You know, we've had problems before in the years that I've been there where we've had our top girls with 30s and 60s in their classes, and we're panicking because we're getting into playoffs, and if they don't pass their classes, they're not going to play and help us. Even these colleges, a college does not want a student or an athlete that cannot pass their classes or maintain their academics. Because as student athletes, you are a student before you're an athlete. You know, and it may seem hard, but you need this dedication and this self-discipline if you want to play these high school sports. No matter what sport it is, whether it be soccer, or maybe if you want to venture out, it still requires dedication, and it requires having the self-discipline to put yourself to work. Because with these sports, depending on the team you make, you're traveling 1 to 2 times every week. That means you're missing your second half of your day classes, and you've got to stay on top of your grades. These teachers will give you a few days as a buffer, but you still have to be responsible for your own grades and make sure that you're accountable to yourself. And not only does this show that you're a balanced student athlete, but it also shows that they can trust you with responsibility on the field. If they can't trust you to be responsible in the classroom, that shows that you can be responsible on your own in the field. You're getting to the age where you're about to start driving, you're gonna have to start, being responsible for your own time and for your own dedication. Are you training outside of school? And the first place that these coaches look, including high school and college, is how are you in the classroom? How is your performance and your dedication? And you may be saying it's hard, it may seem impossible, but I'm in two soccer teams, 2 varsity choirs, honor society. I'm top 10, which means out of 750 kids graduating with me, my GPA is one of the top 10 highest. I'm an officer for honor society. I'm a choir counselor, and I'm a senior officer for choir. And I still managed to make straight A's in all my AP classes. So I promise you, it seems hard, but it is possible and it is doable. But what it takes is your work ethic. If you do not put in the work, you will not get the results and you will not get these coaches' attention. Another thing they look for is, are you a leader? They don't want just a player. They want somebody who's going to pull the team together and who's going to step up as a leader. Which means, are you going to pull the girls, the boys, are you going to pull your teammates together when they're goofing off? And there's a difference. A leader and a boss are very different. A boss just barks orders. Leaders lead by example. Which means, are you putting in the work? Are you leading by example and showing how your teammates should be performing? Are you showing them the dedication they should be putting in? Are you being an example in the classroom by getting good grades and showing them that it is possible to make good grades and perform on the field? You step up and you pull them together. If they're goofing off, you get them back in shape. If they're not working hard in the class, you say get some tutoring and you get them to get their grades in shape. These are all things that look good to these coaches, high school and college. All of this it's not for nothing, I promise you. And I know it may seem like it is, but I guarantee you it's not. Because I personally have put in so much work into my sport and into academics, and I have colleges that are reaching out to me. Currently, I have a full ride offer where, depending on how good my scholarships are from all my grades, SAT scores and stuff, I could get paid to go to college and play. I have 4 colleges that were so interested in me that they waited through my injury, and now they're reaching back out wanting me to go to their ID camps and stuff. So I promise you, this hard work, it does pay off. I promise you, balancing it and finding this work and dedication that most students lack because they don't need to be this dedicated or hardworking, it does pay off. And people do see it, including coaches, including teammates, and even the kids in school. Because as athletes, we are an example. We are a role model not only for other sports, other teammates, but for the other students that are just attending classes as well. That if an athlete can make good grades and stuff like that, there's no excuses for the people who aren't. But I just leave you with this. Once again, what you put in is what you're gonna get out. If you're lazy, if you only put in 50%, you're gonna make JV, you're not gonna make a team. But if you're dedicated and you work hard and you show these coaches that you're willing to put that effort in, then I promise you, you will get seen. You will make a team. You will earn playing time. You will start going through playoffs and stuff. But it's all up to you and what you're willing to put in. But thank you so much for having me and listening to me. Coach, do you have any questions or anything?
No, I don't have any questions.